Hello guys, welcome to my YouTube channel Learning with Samanvi. Today's topic is the flower. A flower is a delicate, highly specialized part of the shoot system of a green plant. A flower sometimes is known as a bloom or blossom. It is the reproductive structure found in the plant that are floral. The biological function of the flower is to affect reproduction. Many flowers have evolved to be attractive to animals so as to cause them to be the vectors for the transfer of pollen. After fertilization, the ovary of the flower develops into a fruit containing seeds. In addition to facilitating the reproduction of flowering plants, flowers have been long admired by humans and beautify the nature. They are also used in medicine and in rituals, religion, and also are a source of food. Flowers are the most attractive and colorful part of the plant. They are the reproductive part of the flowering plant. They are attached to the shoot by a stalk called pedicel. The tip of the stalk is enlarged and slightly flattened called thalamus, from where the other parts of the flower arises. The flower is the seat of reproduction and helps in the formation of seeds first and then the development of fruits. It may be defined as modified stem in which the nodes and internodes are highly condensed and the leaves are modified into floral leaves. Parts of flowers. Flowers vary in size, shape and color, but all flowers have the same basic parts. The main parts of the flower are pedicel. The 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 flower is borne on a stalk called pedicel. Thalamus. The uppermost terminal swollen part of the pedicel is known as thalamus. It may be flat, convex, concave, or cup shaped. It holds the four whorls of the flower. Calyx is the first whorl and the outermost whorl of the flower, and it is an individual segment of units are called sepals. These are green leaf like structures. The collective term for sepal is cal- calyx. Function. It protects the inner floral whorls or during the bud formation and also takes part in photosynthesis. In some flowers, sepals become colored and then are called petaloids. Corolla. It is the second whorl of the flower and it's an individual segment or unit. It is called petals. The collective term of all petals is corolla. Function. Petals are brightly colored with sweet smell and have nectar which attracts the insects. The insects act as an agent of pollination. Androecium. Androecium, it is the third wall of the flower and an individual segment or unit is called stamen. The collective term for all stamen is known as androecium. Stru- Structure. The stamen is the male part of the flower. It consists of thin stalk or filament and bobbled structure called anther. The anther and the filament are connected by a connective tissue. Each anther lobe contains two pollen sacs which contain pollen grains. Function. Androecium acts as the male part of the plant and produces pollen grain which take part in reproduction. Gynoecium. It is the fourth central whorl of the flower. Its an individual segment is called carpels or pistil. One or more carpels may be present in a flower. The collective term for carpels is gynoecium. Structure. The pistil is differentiated into three parts. The terminal respective part is called stigma. The long middle tubular part is called style, and the basal stolon part is called ovary. The ovary contains ovules which fuse with the pollen grains during the process of fertilization and give rise to fruits and seeds. Function: it acts as the female part of the flowers and produces ovules which ripen into seeds and helps in reproduction. All flowers do not have four whorls. Those flowers with only androecium or gynoecium are called unisexual flowers. Example: papaya, plum, gourd. Those flowers which have both androecium and gynoecium are called bisexual or hyperdoc flowers. Example: china rose, petunia, mustard, pea. A complete flower is consisting all four whorls, that are Clarix, cholera, androecium, gynoecium. They are called complete flowers. Example: china rose, pea, mustard. Incomplete flowers: a flower which is lacking one whorl or two is known as an incomplete flower. Example: the flowers of date palm, mulberry, papaya, cuberta. Pollination: the process of transfer of pollen grains to the anther to the stigma from the anther to the stigma is called pollination. There are two types of pollination: self pollination and cross pollination. Self pollination is the transfer of pollen grains from anther to the stigma of the same flower or different flower on the same plant is known as self pollination. This process is quite economical as no agents are involved in it. Cross pollination: transfer of pollen grains to one from anther of one plant to stigma of another plant is known of the same species is known as cross pollination. Agents of pollination: there are four types of agents of pollination. Entomophily, pollination by insects. It is the process of transfer of pollen grains from anther to the stigma of another flower through the agency of insects. The insects visit the flowers for edible pollen grains or nectar or shelter against the rain, heat, or cold, or for laying eggs. While performing these activities, they perform pollination as well. Insect pollinated plants are categorized by beautiful, showy, and brightly colored corolla, sweet scented floral parts, small flower, presence of nectar glands, production of edible pollen, sticky nature of pollen grains and stigma. Example: china rose, pea, sunflower, marigold. The common insects which help in pollination are bees, butterfly, moths, flies, beetles. Bees are the most common pollinators. Anemophily, pollination by air. The process of transfer of pollen grains from anther to stigma of another flower through the agency of wind. The wind pollinated flowers are categorized by the absence of nectar. The flowers are colorless, odorless, and not showy. Absence of larynx and cholera. Plants generally grow up in groups. Pollen grains are light and dusty. Abundance production of pollen grains because of high wastage of them. Stigmas are hairy and well exposed to catch wind-borne pollen. Example: maize, wheat, grass, pine, etc. Hydrophily, pollination by water. It is the transfer of pollen grains to the stigma of another plant which occurs through the agency of water. The water pollinated plants are categorized by pollen grains are long, filamentous, unwetted, and swim underwater. The male flower gets detached and float on the surface of the water. The stigma of the flower is large and sticky and well exposed. The pollination of water may occur above and under the surface of the water. It occurs in some aquatic plants. Example: Zostera valliserena and Hydrilla. In Valliserena, the main flower The male flowers are submerged in the water while the female flowers with long stalks float on the surface of the water. At, at maturity, male flowers get detached from the plant and float on the surface of the water. When these flowers come in contact with the female flowers, then the pollen grains are shed on the stigma of the female flowers and thus pollination takes place. Ornithophily, pollination by birds. Pollination by birds is brought by a large number of plants, example bombax, bignonia, canna, small sunbirds, and hummingbirds, while feeding edible pollen and nectar also perform pollination. These birds pollinated plants are categorized by large in size and swout, showy and brightly in colored. Floral parts are thick and leathery. Production of abundant nectar, production of edible pollen. In plants which are pollinated by bats, the flowers have a strong odor to attract nocturnal birds as they are unable to see flowers in the night. Fertilization. After pollination, the pollen grains germinate on the stigma of the flower. The pollen tube is formed through which the male gametes enter the ovary and fuse with the eggs in the ovules. This process is referred to fertilization. Fertilization is the process by which the fusion of nuclei of male and female gametes take place, which leads to the formation of zygotes. The pollen tube is flower in flowering plants produces two male nuclei, out of which one fuses with the egg. When pollen tube penetrates into the embryo sac to form zygote, the other male nucleus fuses with the two polar nuclei to form endosperm. Zygote, which will divide and develop into an embryo, which will give rise to filament and radicle of the seed. The endosperm will act as a nutritive tissue for the growth of embryo. Seed. The fertilized ovule and ovary continue to remain receiving food from the main plant. They gradually gradually develop into seeds and fruits. Inside fertilized ovule, the zygote divides and grows into embryo of the seed. The integuments of the ovule thickens and hardens to form seed coats, also known as testa. The food may be stored in the persist endosperm as thick fleshy wing-like structure called cotyledon. Seeds are classified into two types: monocot seeds, the seeds which have only one cotyledon are known as monocot seeds. Example: rice, wheat, maize, sugarcane, banana, onion, bamboo, grass, palm, etc. Dicot seeds, the seeds having two cotyledons. Example: gram, pea, groundnut, pulses, sunflower, apple, potato, banyan, papaya, mustard, china rose, etc. Germination. The initial stages of growth of a seed to form seedling is known as germination. The conditions suitable for germination are the presence of adequate moisture, the presence of air and oxygen, a suitable temperature, and the presence of some light. During the process of photosynthesis, the embryonic shoot and the embryonic root emerge and grow upward and downward to form the shoot and root system respectively. Food reserves from the germination come from the cotyledons or the endosperm tissue within the cell. There are two types of germination. Number 1, Epigeal germination. Epigeal germination, the type of germination in which the cotyledons come out of the soil. It is generally found in dicot seeds like castor, cotton, bean, tamarind, gourd. In In this case, the cotyledons usually become green and manufacture food for growing seedling for 2 days. Then they dry up and fallen down. Hypogeal germination. Hypogeal germination. This type of germination in which the cotyledons remain below the soil. This type of germination is seen both in monocot and dicot seeds. In this case, cotyledons does not become green but gradually dries up and falls off. Seeds of gram, pea, groundnut, radish, mustard, maize, mango, rice undergo hypogeal germination. Fruit. A fruit is the ripened ovary and produced after pollination and fertilization. The wall of a ovary becomes pericarp or fruit wall. The fertilized ovules inside the ovary becomes the seeds. The walls of the ovary may be fleshy as in tomato, brinjal, orange, papaya, apple, cherries, and therefore are called fleshy fruits. In cotton, lady's finger, peas, gram, bean, maize, the fruit wall of the ovary is dry and thin. Such fruits are called dry fruits. The fruits the fruits protect the seed which carry the future plants in the embryos in two ways. When young, its green color keeps it hidden under the green foliage, and when it matures, the soft and fragrant fruit wall attracts the agents for dispersal of the fruits and seeds. Functions of fruit. Number 1, protection. It protects the seed against injuries and unfavorable climatic conditions. Number 2, dispersal of seeds. It helps in the dispersal of seeds or fruits with seeds when they are ripe. Dispersal occurs with natural methods and artificial methods too. Storage of food. It stores the food material in case of tomato, apple, mango, etc. Parts of fruit. The entire ovary grows to form the fruit, and the ovary walls forms the epicarp of the fruit. The pericarp may be thick or thin. When thick, it may consist of three parts. The outer, called epicarp, forms the skin of the fruit. The middle, called mesocarp, is the pulpy pulpy part, like in mangoes, plum, etc. And the inner is called the endocarp. It is often thin and membranous, as in oranges, or it may be hard and stony, as in palms and mangoes. Dispersal of fruits and seeds. When the fruit is ripe, it breaks away from the parent plant and its seeds are scattered. The scattering of seeds away from the parent plant is called dispersal. It is important that the seeds and fruits are dispersed far and wide so that the plant which grow them will not be crowded. This reduces the competition for light and water between the members of the same species of the plant. It may also result in plant growing at new places, which is essential for the diversity of the ecosystem. The three ways of seed dispersal are by the wind, animal, and water. The pericarp, outer layer of different fruits, develop in different ways for different methods of the dispersal. Number 1, dispersal by wind. Wind dispersal. In wind dispersal, the fruits and seeds of dandelion, cotton, poppy, and orchids are of parachute type. These contain feathery, silky hairs which project from the fruit or seed when the wind is strong and so increase the surface area. Due to this, the seed floats over long distances before coming to the ground. Therefore, it is likely to be carried a long distance away from the parent plants by slight wind currents. The fruits of Skyamore have wings which help them being carried away in air currents. The seeds of orchids are very light and dusty. They are also adapted for wind dispersal. Animal dispersal. In animal dispersal, the fruits and seeds of certain plants are surrounded by hooks, bristles, barks, and spines. These hooks catch in the fur and passing mammals, and fruits and seeds fall out from the mammals and move about. Example: gooseberry, hazelnut, xanth, and mandarina. Hard seeds of some edible fruits do not get digested in the mammals, so they are passed along with the droppings of the birds away from the animal plant. Example: the seeds of guava, tomato, orange, and blackberry. Number 3, dispersal by water. A few seeds and fruits are dispersed by water currents. These seeds and fruits are light and flattened or with air cavities or fibrous coat with hard covering over the over the seeds, which are usually carried a long distances away by water currents. Example: water lily, lotus, and coconuts. Thank you for your time. Please like, share, subscribe to my channel.